All right, everyone, welcome back once again to the channel. All right, lately I've been checking out some really scary content, and I really have been enjoying the heck out of it. I've been checking out some live action and animations, also doing some try not to laughs for you who love comedy out there. I will also be doing more of those down the line. But for now, I've been really enjoying myself watching this scary content. All right, and so. Lately, I've been doing lots of animations. Like I said, I've been doing lots of live action and animations, but I've been enjoying more the animations just because of the environment. It's really soothing to look at. It's very like laid back to listen to the narration and watch as the story plays out. As the characters move around the screen. So I really have been enjoying myself. And today, that's what I want to do. I want to check out some more SFM Creepypasta animations because I've really been enjoying those. So I hope you have been enjoying those as well, just like I have. If you have any recommendations of your own, you can go ahead and comment down in one of the videos. Leave a little comment. Let me know something that interests you that you want me to check out, and I'll go ahead and check that out for you. So for now, we're going to do SFM Creepypasta, and this is called It Has No Face. All right. So this one is interesting, caught my eye because sometimes we look at distorted faces or low quality imagery where you kind of see a face but you can't really make out what it is, and it makes it all the more disturbing, to look at, almost unsettling, right? Because you can't tell what it is. So I really like this type of things, type of stuff, and yeah. So based on the thumbnail, I saw that this character had sort of like half a human face, right? You can see its original recognizable features in the face, and then on the other side it was just completely blank, right? It had no expression whatsoever, no eyes, nothing. So I am intrigued, and I'm curious to why that's going to happen to this individual, or at least something else that he saw that this individual sees, right? I'm not sure. But we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this. If you want to check out the video yourselves, you can go ahead and click in the link in the description down below and have a look at it yourselves. If you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and watch me react to this. Let's go ahead and do that and see what this is about. So without further ado, let's get scared.
Everyone has tales about the strange and bizarre. My story is about how my
he's moving his mouth to the
saved my life, and continues to save my life to this very day. Late in December, I was traveling north from California to my home state of Oregon.
I didn't expect that. I'm not used to this.
Nothing fancy. I was
usually
just
they don't talk.
They
just have the narration, and the character does all the movements.
I had a small snowstorm. Nothing awful, just a lot of snow falling at once. I wasn't worried about the small increase of snow at first, considering I had snow tires installed before I started my long journey home. I did, however, get a little hesitant to drive when the snow started to really come down. The large amount of falling snow, coupled with the large amount of already littering the ground as I traveled higher into the mountains, caused me to consider finding a place to stay for the night.
Oh, that looks...
I figured I could get some sleep while the storm passed over. That and the fact that I could give my car's heater a break before it would decide to burst into flames, or worse, just stop working altogether. I scanned as much of the landscape as I could, but there were no buildings in the immediate area. The only other option I had for my predicament was to keep driving and hope there was a town or exit nearby that I could take in order to escape from the storm. I must have been driving for at least an hour before I saw a sign up ahead indicating how far the closest city was. My heart sank a little when I read 162 miles, as it flew by my windshield and vanished into the snowy night. At this point, the snow was beating against my windshield, and I knew I wasn't going to last 162 minutes, let alone miles.
Oh gosh.
The digital clock on
That's
my radio
terrifying.
read 1:21 a.m., and I decided that the next turnoff I saw, I would take and hope that I could find a neighborhood that will produce some results on my current endeavor. My thought process was either freeze to death in my car or stay the night at some random person's house. Weighing the two options in my head, I picked the only thing a sane person would pick and tried to find a house.
I would do that too, yeah.
Another 30 minutes flew by and still no luck finding a place to pull off. Just when I was starting to lose hope, I
It's
saw a
always a
turn off
house
in
in
the
the middle of the
distance.
woods, man.
A small shape started to make its way closer into my headlights. And on further inspection, it was revealed to me that there were two wooden poles that possibly belonged to a fence. When I turned onto the road between the two wooden poles, the ground beneath felt rocky and rough, like I was traveling on gravel. I didn't drive for too long before I started to see a small cabin creep into my field of view. The lights in the cabin were off, but the place seemed to be in fairly good shape. I parked my car under a tall, wild-looking tree that took residence on the cabin's front lawn. After putting my cap snug on my head, I trudged up to the cabin. As I traveled through the cold, windy night up to what I felt was my salvation, I immediately regretted not getting any gloves for my hands. Despite the irritation I had with my hands, my face and the rest of my body were comfortably warm, so I didn't have much room to complain. I stuffed my frozen
That's
hands
good.
deep into my pockets and continued my journey across the cabin's lawn. As I made my way to the door, I noticed something a bit odd. There was no indication of life anywhere. There wasn't even a car in the front yard. Taking my right hand out of my pocket, I knocked 3 times, waiting patiently before saying, "Hello? Is anybody there? I'm sorry to bother you so late at night, but I need a place to stay for a few hours." Nothing answered my plea for help. So I knocked 3 more times on the door,
Man.
hitting my knuckles harder against the aged wood of the entrance. "Hello?" I said, again a little louder before continuing with, "I'm not here to rob you or anything. I just need a place to stay for the rest of the night. I promise I will be gone by sunrise."
You have to break in, man.
As I finished my last sentence,
Don't
I
recommend
touched
that.
the
No.
ornate metal door handle,
In critical
noticing that the door
situations,
seemed to be unlocked.
yeah. You
I
have to
said
get
in a
in.
loud voice, "I'm coming in now. If there's anybody in there, please let me know." I pressed the metal lever down, finding it a bit odd that the door was unlocked, and opened the door with little resistance on the other end, closing it behind me with about the same resistance despite the fact the door was really, really old. I noticed the cabin had 5 rooms, the living room, which was the largest, a small kitchen, an even smaller washroom, and what I assumed were 2 small bedrooms in the back. No lights were on inside this cozy cabin, making it almost perfectly dark if my eyes weren't already adjusted to the darkness from outside. I decided the best thing to do would be to search for a light switch, so I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight app to scan the walls. Of course, my scan produced no results, however, and at the risk of losing precious battery power on my phone, I decided the best option would be to turn off the light and put my phone on airplane mode.
Yeah.
Before turning off my light, I studied the paintings hanging on the wall that I glossed over in the
Light back
initial
on.
scan. Each painting that crossed my sight was just typical landscapes of harbors, things like that. There was a painting that looked like a fox hunter.
That looks like Paul
something similar,
Zazarek over there.
but other than that, it was just typical
The
paintings
fruit.
you would see hanging on the
Bowl of
walls
fruits.
around an elderly person's home. There was one painting, however, that did catch my attention. The painting was small and consisted of what looked like 2 adults, a mother, father, a teenage girl, and a small child. The family captured in that painting were wearing what looked like Victorian-era clothing. I'm only guessing about the clothes. I mean, they could have been from the 1800s or early 20th century. The point is that the clothing
Jeez.
was very ornate and regal. There was something really disturbing about the image, though. The faces of each member of the family appeared as if they were smoothed over with clay.
Ah.
It's kind of hard to describe, I know, but
Yeah, no, I think I
The three
described it
family
earlier as
members
Clay.
looked like they had no facial features. By no facial features, I mean, instead of the normal ones that you and I have, the three people in the painting had grooves of smooth flesh where normally you would have eyes or a nose, mouth. The only person in the painting that didn't possess a blank face was the teenage girl, which appeared to be normal for a teenage girl. In fact,
I thought that was
she
a
was
boy.
actually quite breathtaking.
Got no
I
long
pulled
hair,
myself
got
away
nothing
from
going
the
on back
painting
there.
to take a glance at my phone for the first time. My phone indicated that it was past 2 o'clock in the morning, so I decided to go back to the room and check to see if it was occupied. To my relief, the room was vacant. Besides a medium-sized bed, ornate dresser, and a nightstand, there wasn't much to
It's
go
a
by.
really big room.
The walls were blank, apart more sappy paintings to give it a little more atmosphere, I suppose. Although there was no indication of a heating system, besides a chimney, the rooms were bearable enough that I figured I could just bundle up in my clothes under the covers in order to stay warm. I was only going to be there for a few hours anyway, so there wasn't much point in starting a fire, plus the people who owned the cabin would be back tonight considering how late it was. I hopped into the worn-out bed, facing the open door next to the other door, which I assumed was a closet, and pulled my ski mask completely up over my face to make sure my head would stay nice and warm for the rest of my stay. Pulling the fabric of my mask down slightly, I set the alarm on my phone for 4:30 a.m. and put it back down on the nightstand. I covered my face again and bundled up tightly with the sheets, closing my eyes and letting dreamland take me away until I woke up after what only felt like minutes.
I mean, man, look, I mean, if I was in that kind of situation and it was just crazy out there and there was no way I was going to make it that far away in this blizzard, 162 miles was it? Up to whatever point. I mean, nah, man, I would probably just find a place. And I mean, even if nobody let me in, I would probably find somewhere around that house to stay because, yeah, there's no way I'm driving out there in that blizzard. I mean, you have the option to stay in your car, but I mean, no, man, it's not the same. You gotta stay in the house. Gotta stay in the house. But what's a little bit suspicious is that, it's a really clean house. It's well organized, even though it's got these old features in it, but it's not dirty, right? There's nothing going on in there that's suspicious except for those weird photos, the faded out faces and all that. But the rooms are nice, and I mean, I would probably just personally, I don't know, set up some kind of noise trap or something in case somebody tries to sneak up on me or anything like that, because you never know who's in that house, man. I mean, somebody could be hiding, watching him walking around that house, like a complete setup for people who are stranded out there. I mean, it's way too good to be true, Let's keep going here.
My body froze as I heard the noise
See?
over and over again, softly coming from the closed door. I tried to relax, thinking that all the noises that I heard was just probably a rat or some other animal that was spending the night in the closet while the cabin's owners were away. Quietly, I shifted on
My
back,
God.
pulling my ski mask down slightly so a little slit appeared, giving me a small window to look out at what was there. I laid on the bed, stiff as a board, with my cap and my mask covering my face in such a way that it acted almost like a visor, giving me a small peek at what was in the darkness. Thankfully, my eyes were still adjusted to the dark, which gave me a small amount of reassurance as I continued looking in the direction of the scratching noise. Louder and louder for what seemed like minutes until, just like that.
And this is exactly why I would set some traps, all right? Right around that bed. Just set something on that bed or around it, even on the sides, maybe by the door. Any door I see around that room, I'm setting up a noise trap, something where whatever steps there makes that noise and I wake up suddenly, because, nah, man, as soon as I see this, I'm getting out of that house. Getting out. That's it.
It stopped. Silence filled the room again, but it wasn't a safe kind of silence. The deafening silence in the room was foreboding, ominous sort of silence. The vacuum of sound in the air was the type of silence that happens in a movie just before something jumps out at you.
The jump scare right there.
Just when I began to calm myself down, The doorknob to the closet began to jiggle and turn very slightly. My heart was racing out of my chest as I saw and heard that knob turn, and every inch of my body wanted to just bolt out of the bed and out of that cabin before whoever was on the other side of that door got out after me. I laid perfectly still on the bed, despite the fact that I had a cocktail of adrenaline, nerves, and instincts telling me to get the hell out of there. My eyes widened as the door to the closet opened slightly, and I saw what looked like a dried head attached to an elongated neck pop out of the opening, accompanied by a skeletal body.
God!
The thing that was emerging from the closet crawled on all fours out of the doorway and slowly made its way to the bed that I was sleeping in. I had never been more frightened in my whole entire life as the thing stood up, almost touching the ceiling of the cabin, and looking down in my direction.
Oh my goodness. Please tell me he's dreaming.
The creature stood there studying me as I peeked through the thin slits in my mask. Pure terror swirling around in my mind as I glanced up at the body of the creature.
What's that, Grendel?
Looking at the creature's skeletal face, I noticed that it had no eyes within its head, which led me to believe that it couldn't even see me even though I could see it. Just when the idea of not being able to see me started to give me a little comfort, the creature began to speak. "Strange," the creature whispered softly as it continued to
You're
watch
talking
me,
strange, look at you!
and then spoke again. "It had no fear of me," it continued to say in a hoarse tone as it began to breathe loudly, continuing to look at me and gripping down on the edge of my bed. Feeling the creature's bony hand touch the edge of my bed caused my brain to go into complete panic mode. The only thing that stopped me from jumping up was the thought that maybe the creature believed I was dead or asleep and wouldn't attack.
Yeah, you never know how strong that...
How can it not fear? How can it not fear me? The thing said through clenched teeth before loudly gasping and suddenly pulling back.
Also,
with
he
its
wants
mouth
him to
open in
fear
an
it.
expression that almost resembled fear. "It has no face," the thing whispered to itself as it continued to back away. "It has no face," the creature said again, but this time louder than before and slightly more unnerved. "No face," the creature shouted as it backed off further away from the bed. I heard the thing breathing loudly and quickly before calming down and slowly returning to the side of
Oh
the
my
bed.
God, it's walking back.
Leaning over me slowly, the creature continued to look at me before softly beginning to breathe on my face. I could smell its
that is
foul
so
breath
scary.
through my mask. The smell was so powerful that it took all my strength not to gag as a reflex to the awful stench.
Oh
In
gosh.
my mind, I made the choice to keep motionless and did not do or say anything that would compromise whatever illusion I was giving the thing that was currently studying me. The
Oh
creature
man,
breathed on me again, softly.
this reminds me of that game.
The stench I smelled from its breath could only be described as rotten,
Oh.
which only strengthened my resolve to stay perfectly motionless. Strange.
There's a game with almost similar creatures like
whispered
this. I
at me
forgot the
again,
name of that game with a
leaning
bunch
in
of
close to me
teenagers.
to the point where I could see and smell its decaying flesh.
Oh my goodness.
The creature slowly reached for me, its hand moving slowly towards my face. With every inch that decaying hand moved, I couldn't help but feel my situation becoming more and more dire. I thought that this was it for me. The creature would kill me tonight, or take me away and torture me, then kill me, and no one would know what happened to me. No one would find my body out there, and no one would know my story. I could feel tears start to well up in my eyes as I thought of everyone I ever loved being yanked away from me in this one very moment. No face. No face.
Oh man.
No face. The creature softly chanted as its hands crept ever closer to my face. I could hear the anguish in the creature's voice as it continued chanting over and over as it reached for me.
let me know what you would do in this situation, man. I think I would probably react fast, but I don't know, man. I'm underestimating this scene because in real life, I mean, our body betrays us very quick. So when we're afraid, we're fearful of something, the first thing that is a possibility to occur, like with us, is paralyzation, or what do you call it, paralysis, right? Like we just freeze in the moment, right? And we just can't react. So I don't know, but if I had the ability to react, I probably would just jump out of that bed and just give that thing a smack, and like, what do you call it, like just cut around it, right, real quick. And then like Poist says, give him the jukes, right? Give the jukes, and then just go right around him and run out the door, get out of that house, run into the truck, and just peel out. Who knows what that thing is? Who knows how strong it really is? But I mean, I don't know, man. It might even catch my reaction faster than I can ever react. I don't know. But what would you guys do? What would you do in this situation? I mean, this is crazy.
Just as I thought my life was all over, a sudden loud noise erupted from the room, filling the ear closest to the nightstand.
Thank goodness.
With a flood of beeps and causing the creature to scream and jump back. As the noise continued, the creature threw itself back against the wall, shrieking uncontrollably in terror as it stumbled back towards the closet. I was dumbstruck for a second, before the thought came to me that I had set my alarm at 4:30, which must have been the source of all the noise. I jumped out of the bed, grabbed my phone, and pointed the lit-up screen at the monster.
Has it been like 2 hours already?
To ring loudly. The loud ringing caused the monster to shriek even more in confusion and terror as it retreated quicker as I approached. Seeing my chance, I activated my phone's flashlight and put it on strobe in order to disorientate the monster further.
Wow. You're gonna waste your battery, man. Just run out of there.
No face! No face! No face! The creature shrieked at me as it withdrew to the safety of the closet. I continued to shine my light on the creature. And for
attack it while it's down.
I started playing loud music as I continued to jab my phone into the monster's direction like a lion tamer. The thing threw itself into the dark recesses of the closet, and I shoved the door back, locking it after I slammed it closed.
There you go.
The shrieks coming from the monster started to get fainter and fainter, like it was almost retreating deeper into the house.
Out of there.
No face! No face! No face! I could hear the creature yell out as it got further and further away. After hearing the last retreating words of the thing that terrified me the whole night, I bolted from the cabin at breakneck speed, jumping into my car and floored it off the gravel road.
There you go.
I was
That's exactly what I would do.
Drove. And when I pulled my ski mask further down to expose my skin, I was as white as the snow that littered the ground. I was so frightened by the whole experience. As soon as I pulled into the first town I saw, I parked my car and began to sob uncontrollably for a while. The experience that I had just been through would scar me for life. But as I wept in my car, in the parking lot of a convenience store, I couldn't help but start to laugh a little in between my fits of crying. I got through my ordeal without so much as a scratch on me. Well, aside from the mental scratches.
Whole mix of emotions, man.
I was fine. I was alive, and I didn't have to worry anymore. After I finished with my whole episode of crying and laughing like an insane person, I entered the store, sniffling and wiping away the rest of my emotions.
Oh man!
As I continued into the store, the cashier looked
Just
up
when
at
you
me
think
and
it's
traced
over.
my direction with his eyes before
But like it's about to
continuing
get
with what he was
worse.
doing. The store was mostly empty, aside from an
Cracky.
elderly couple. I was the only customer in there. Rough night? The cashier said with one eyebrow cocked up while he scanned my items. You have no idea, I said, looking out of the window at the sun breaking over the horizon. I noticed you looked a bit upset when you came in. What happened? You get dumped or something? he said, looking up at me as the register computed how much I owed him. Looking at
It's
the young
like,
man
not
behind the
that
register,
bad.
he seemed to be a little younger than I was, although that didn't say much because even though I'm 22, I do look younger than my actual age. I looked at the cashier's name tag for a second before feeling that I had nothing to lose by telling him about the night I just had.
22?
The small name on his ID read Evan. And as I finished telling him my frightening tale,
That
something
man looks
odd
like 40.
happened. I expected him to burst out laughing or say that I was the best liar he had ever talked to. Instead of doing any of that, Evan just stood there. His skin milk white as he stared at me with an expression so horrified, he gave me the impression that he had just witnessed something get run over by a train or something. Evan, you alright? I said, looking into his eyes while we both just stood there, silently. What? Oh, yeah, it's just, Evan began to say before his thoughts trailed off due to a new feeling that we were both being watched. I began to feel eyes burn into the back of my head before turning around to see the old couple I glanced at when I entered the store beforehand. The old couple possessed the same horrified expression that Evan had just a few seconds ago. They must have heard the whole story I told. After a few moments of silence, the old couple asked me what I knew about the cabin, to which I couldn't really say.
Oh, I thought
I
they
gave them
were
the
going
best
to do
description I
something.
could about what I saw. The couple proceeded to tell me about the cabin, how long it had been there, and that it was haunted by a presence so terrifying that the place was condemned and left to rot away after so many people disappeared there. They told me that no one who ever stayed in that cabin has ever been seen alive again, if they've ever been seen at all after their visit. One of my best friends stayed the night in that cabin, Evan said quietly as he stood
That ain't
off in the
haunted, man.
distance.
There's just the ugly
Continued his
monster
thoughts
physically
with,
present in there.
I
And
refused
somebody's
to
got to
go
get
the
in there and
cabin.
kill it.
I knew something bad would happen if we went. I tried so hard to convince him that the dare was stupid and to not go in, but he refused to be labeled as a chicken.
Oh, hey, that one character from the other story. I noticed this animator uses the same characters for different stories.
I never
It's
saw
like
him
different
again after
actors
that
playing
night.
different roles.
I kept calling his house, but his
Or
parents
same
still
actor
couldn't find
playing
him.
a different role. Makes
Put
sense.
up flyers, billboards, but we never had any luck. After a few days, we contacted the police, and I told them about the cabin. Evan began to choke down his tears as he clenched his fist. They found him in the basement of that cabin, sprawled out on the floor. His eyes were ripped out of his face. His nose had been removed, and his lips were sliced clean off. When they found him, he was
Jeez.
naked with an incision in the bottom of his ribcage, down to his pelvis in the middle of his body. All of his organs were extracted from his body, and to add insult to injury, his genitals were sliced clean off. But you want to know the worst part of it all? When the police did the
Jeez.
autopsy on the body, they found that he was alive during the whole process.
It tortured him
Evan
alive.
winced as he remembered the whole gruesome sight and said, "They never found who or what did it.
That thing was gonna torture
There
him.
was no DNA evidence to convict anybody. They didn't find the tools that made the incisions, and they didn't find anything." Evan clenched his fist tighter on the table before the old man, listening to our conversation, put his hand on Evan's shoulder to reassure him that it was going to be all right. As he comforted Evan, he looked at me and said, "People have been disappearing from the area for decades. Maybe even centuries for all we know, but the bodies always end the same gruesome way. I don't care who you are. No one deserves something like that happening to them. They should just torch that damn place to the ground." The old lady joined her husband's side and looked
Exactly.
at me with
Let's
the most
just burn that place down.
foreboding face I had ever seen.
Just
If
sitting
your
there.
story is true, you should consider yourself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. In all my years of living, you are the only one to go into that cabin and emerge alive," the woman said, gripping onto her husband's hand tightly as she spoke to me. After hearing the old woman's words, I realized that Evan said the body of his friend was found in the basement, which would explain why the monster's voice got fainter. It would have pulled me into the basement if my phone hadn't gone off.
Yeah.
I quickly paid for my items and left the store, more troubled now than I was when I entered. Feeling drowsy due to the lack of sleep and constant adrenaline rush caused by the whole terrible ordeal, I decided to go to a hotel and spend my day sleeping and relaxing to get my mind off things. That night, I sat on the bed in my hotel room and looked at the two items that saved my life. In one hand, I gripped onto my ski mask, which hid my face from that terrible monster. In my other hand, I held my cell phone, which scared away the horrible beast that could have killed me. I decided from that day on, I would always wear my ski mask to bed. It saved my life. That's the least I can do for it. The recent brush with death I just experienced had taught me that life is far too precious to waste, so I decided to ask my best friend Samantha out on a date, and things worked out perfectly. Samantha and I were together for 2 years before I recently asked her for her hand in marriage, which she said yes.
Aww.
Part of me will never ever forget that awful night, and because of it, not only have I been wearing my ski mask to bed every night since then, I've also made it a priority not to live in any type of house that has a basement. As an added safety measure, I started locking every door before going to bed. It's a pain, but you can never be too careful. Despite these crazy precautions, Samantha has accepted my little quirks and has continued to be supportive as we continue our journey.
What about his wife, Samantha? Should give her a ski mask.
I couldn't be happier with the way things turned out in my life, and I'm so lucky to be with
Samantha. A little
Samantha.
paranoid, but I get it.
Everything's perfect.
Might be completely traumatized, I would.
There's just one thing that bothers me, and I think I might just have to blame my imagination, but sometimes, when I wake up at night, when it's really, really quiet, sometimes I'll hear soft scratching noises. Also, and I think it's just paranoia, but I swear, sometimes I hear something whisper, "No face," from inside my closet.
All right, everyone, there you have it. All right, that is It Has No Face. All right, so my thoughts on this story. I, without a doubt, really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole storytelling part of it, the narration. Definitely new things here that I saw, which I've usually watched this animation for a while now. Like I would usually watch these, the SFM creepypastas, but this one here, I had the character moving its mouth to the narrator, and just to be honest, it threw me off just a bit, just because the voice was so young. Like it didn't match the character's face. It's a pretty crazy nitpick, I'm a little picky sometimes, but I did get distracted just a bit. When you had this character talking and with this young voice, but it's not a big issue at all. It was just something I noticed that threw me off a bit. But other than that, I really enjoyed the story 100%. I really enjoyed this. Now I know some parts that could have been cut off, like probably the whole marriage part. It was very just random to me towards like the end of the story a little bit, and just kind of like rushed through, like literally through a sequence of events. Just kind of like a marriage, a proposal, a marriage, and then moving in together and things like that. Right after his terrifying experience with that hideous monster. But so all of that could have just kind of been cut off of the story, and then could have just kind of been with this character, just focused on that character himself. Even with the aftermath of the incident, like when he would sleep in his own bed at home by himself, how he would. Maybe it could have just cut. It could have just cut to the point of like him returning back to his family, to his wife at home and his kids, and then going to bed, and then being in bed, eventually listening or hearing that thing again, hearing the screeching noises or the scratching noises. But other than that, like I really did think the design of this monster was very familiar, very similar to this game that I have. This game that I've I haven't played it before, but it's a game. Maybe some of you, one of you, can put it in the comment section. It's a game with a group of teenagers go out into the woods, and then they run into these hideous monsters that are also very long, very slender, very bent, kind of like very fast and strong. And then one of the members of the groups gets infected with whatever these monsters have, and starts becoming one of those things, towards the end of the game, which is super effective. Now, again, I haven't played the game, but I've seen clips, which, I kind of spoiled myself. But yeah, it looks like a pretty fun game. But anyway, it kind of reminded me of that. Move my camera there. It kind of reminded me of that a bit. And then, of course, a little bit of the Grendel character design from Beowulf. It reminded me of that a little bit as well. Good. So, yeah, definitely good design on the monster. I love how there was literally no person that was alive there with literally no face, like a clay face. But all we saw, like related to the thumbnail, was the picture with the faces, with those missing features in the face. Now I was a little confused. So like the teenage girl that was in the picture that did not have a faded face, right? When the man walked in and saw the photo there, was that monster the little girl, the teenage girl, and she became that thing, is what I'm guessing. Maybe I might have missed a connection there, but with the three other members that were there that had no face, were they attacked and eventually, murdered by this thing, or tortured and murdered by this thing? Just like, how we heard from the story of the cashier in the store, right, with his friend, that his friend got tortured in a terrifying, very disturbing way. I mean, did these people also get that same fate with this thing, with this monster? I don't know. I mean, a lot of you can maybe connect the dots in the comment section and let me know. But other than that, that's all I've got. And so I really did enjoy the whole part of like him walking in, the whole sequence of events of him walking into that abandoned house or cabin or whatever it was, in in the snow in the middle of that storm, and then eventually realizing that there's something living in there, which I would have immediately assumed, like I probably would have inspected the whole house, maybe set some traps or something, lock that front door, do as much as I can to protect myself, because I don't know who lives there. I don't know that place. I'm completely, blind to the entire area there. I don't know what's happening. So, protection is number one priority. Finding ways to protect yourself, lay down traps and things like that. So anyway, yeah, that was probably the most entertaining part of the story there. And so yeah, I mean, usually the stories I've seen is they walk away and survive from that incident, and whatever that thing was just remains unsolved, like that it remains undiscovered, unexplained. And then, eventually all the character does at the end is just live to tell the story. And that's the end of it. But yeah, I mean, this one could have been cut off a bit. It kind of went a little too long with him going to the store, telling them, and then them telling the story, the backstory of it. Maybe just a bit, but and then it just kind of moved on to the wedding thing. I think that primarily the wedding stuff could have been kind of cut off. But I know, and maybe not the store part. That was also very, very connected to the incident. But no, man, I mean, maybe if I would have done it myself, the story, probably could have also been a bit of a stretch, would have extended it more than I needed it to. But I'm simply just stating my thoughts here and what I thought. And I think that the story was well done. Again, very effective environment. I love the whole animation of the blizzard and the road. It really looked like realistic, or at least convincing enough to feel like if you're in that blizzard, in that storm. And in the design of the house in the middle of the trees, very dark, very almost grayscaled. I love that. Very very cold, right? So I love the whole design of the environment. It was well done. Other than that, man, you did a really good job. The animator did an amazing job on this. Thank you so much for uploading this video and sharing it with us. Okay, and yeah, continue to upload some of these videos. I'm gonna keep checking these out. A great story, everyone, or a great story, you guys. Let me know what was your favorite part here. what scared you the most. All right, and yeah, what was your favorite scene? What are your thoughts in general about this, short story here? And yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching with me, everybody. I hope you take care of yourselves out there. All right, stay healthy. Enjoy your day out there. It's still sunny out, so I'm gonna head out there and go for a run. Enjoy the sun. All right, thanks for watching. Peace.